Yeah, we're live. A bold the cold. It even says walk on from my Ninja Warrior days. See, look at the back. Can you see it? Yeah, what's up? So tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. One is today was the day I got to watch the got to watch the little ticker tick up to just over 200,000. 400,000, that would be nice. 200,000 subscribers, which thank you guys for all of that because you guys are the reason for that. That's awesome. And I can't believe that it's grown as fast as it has. Seems like just yesterday when I was getting this thing started. But thank you guys for all the support. So naturally, because we've reached a milestone, I'm going to do a giveaway. And if you saw in the thumbnail, the photo that I put in the thumbnail, it's a 1972 Nova. I'm going to actually give away the Project Nova, but as an incentive, I mean, obviously we've talked about this a couple of nights now in a row. As the incentive, I need to go down and get it running, which I'm going to do. Because we have a lot of things going on right now in our life. Making the LS Fest probably not going to happen. I don't know that I could get that thing down there and swap an LS in. I'm still going down and getting the Nova running before the end of April. Might not have an LS, might be a conventional small block, but whatever it is, it's going to go down, get it running. I'm going to put all the suspension stuff on, the brakes, everything. And then I'm going to choose, and then somebody's going to win this. I'm still figuring out how I'm going to go about choosing. One of the things that have happened, it's amazing that people get so riled up about such small things. Like if you're giving away a camshaft or a t-shirt or a pencil or whatever it is, a keychain, people get all bent out of shape if they're not the guy that win. But my thing was first and I technically won and yada, 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 and whine and complain. And so I'm not going through that. I'm going to devise another system, maybe a merit system. Maybe somebody's going to tell me the story of why they could get it. One of the cool things I was thinking about today, although I don't know how this could be done logistically, but what I'd like to do is give the Nova away. And unlike what I did with it, let it sit for a long time. I'd like to give it away and then give it away to like 3 or 4 different people. I like to give it away to one guy and then have the other people be alternates and give it away to one guy and say, look, I'm going to give it to you and you have 2 months or whatever the date is. You have till that time to get this thing and go down the drag strip with it. If you don't do it, the second place guy gets to come pick up that Nova from you and he gets to take it. And then he gets that amount of time until he gets it done so that the Nova just doesn't go and sit in somebody else's house. You know, obviously that's possible and probable, but it would be kind of cool to be able to see that and give them a timeline to get it done. And also the thing I'd like to have them do is write an essay on why they should win the Nova rather than just give it away randomly. I'd like to hear what a guy's going to do to it and how quickly he's going to do it. And I want them to convince me. So these are all things I'm thinking of. I don't know what the reality is yet. And I have time, obviously, to get the thing done and think about all this. But that's one of the ways that I was thinking about giving it away is if I could have people tell me, why do you want this? Why do you deserve it? And then what are you going to do with it? And then how quickly can you get it done and run? Like, I don't even care. I don't want it to be painted. I don't want it to be detailed. What I want is in some manner to make it so that you put a turbo 350 in it with a shift kit and a nitrous plate kit or whatever. And so if you don't go out and run 12s with it or 11s or whatever, then the other guy gets it and he gets to go do it now. So now it's his turn and he gets like 2 months or whatever the time period is. And then if he doesn't get it done, then the next guy gets it. And then it goes on and on and on until somebody actually gets the project done, which obviously I didn't do. But now in April, I am going to get that done. I'm going to get it done in the sense that I'm going to get it and it will run and drive down the street and stuff. And so that's my goal for the 200K giveaway. I would like to, in that time, also get shirts done. So the first shirt I think I'm going to do is wrong cam. So so let me know. In fact, we're going to do that. That's going to be the poll for tonight. So what I want to know is I've been thinking about the shirt, and I have the shirts, and you guys have all seen them that say wrong cam, but I think it should say wrong cam bro. I want to throw the bro in there. I didn't have that on my shirt, but I think it should say that. And also, I'm going to put my logo for my channel, which will be new, up in the corner too. So should I? The poll for tonight is: should I add bro to the wrong cam slogan for t-shirts? So this will be interesting. Wrong cam, bro. Gotta have the bro in there because everybody's all broing out, right? Should I add bro to the wrong cam slogan for the t-shirts? Ask the community. That is going to be our poll for tonight. So it'll be interesting to see. The Nova, I took a look today. Richard, thank you very much. Thanks for all the videos. 8.1. I've got a lot more stuff coming. We're going to be doing cams and the intake tests, and I got lots of stuff. In fact, thanks for reminding me. I have to order springs for that thing. Order 8.1 liter springs and retainers. And then I'm also thinking about, but I have to take the heads off. I wish there was a way to do that without taking the heads off. I'd like to cut down the valve guides. I mean, I could do it Hackosaurus Rex, but I'd like there to be a good way to do it without taking the heads off. I can get more retainer seal clearance if I change the retainer and then I put a +50 keep or something on there. So that's not an issue. We just want to make sure that we can get something in the low to mid 500 stuff, because that's I kind of think where the cams are going to end up being. Thank you again, Richard. That's awesome. And like I said, more 8.1 cam stuff coming up. And I think of all of the motors that we've run, the 8.1 should respond to cam timing at least as well as the LS stuff does. Not that it has great cylinder heads, but it's not really making very much power right now and can make a lot more with the head flow that it has. And it has such mild cam timing and such big displacement that it should grow leaps and bounds with almost any kind of camshaft. Yeah, wrong cam, dude. So make sure to go up and vote and let me know. We got 141 people here right now as of 7 minutes and 20 seconds. So make sure to get over there and vote. Should the t-shirt say wrong cam, dude? And then probably what I'll do, I can get those shirts done in time. I can give away some shirts too, which would be good, which will be awesome. So I did do some work today on the Nova. I tested the heater core, which we were talking about last night, and so far it actually has not leaked. The hoses that are on it are junk, but I still use those. What I did was just hook my garden hose up to it, and it doesn't flow very well, so it's probably fairly rusty in there, I'm thinking, but it does flow through. And then what I did was kind of cap it, put some pressure in there, and I'm not seeing any drips or anything, but I want to reserve judgment until I'm keeping water in there for right now. So I want to reserve judgment until it's been in there a while and I retest it maybe a couple of times just to make sure that it's not, because sometimes the leaks are not doesn't just pour out. Sometimes it's just a slow drip and it's inside the box. So I want to make sure that it's not. And also what I did was took the pressure washer again and pressure washed everything. I took everything out of the trunk, pressure washed all that, pressure washed the interior. Turbo Monza, if you're here, I sent you a photo of the inside of the interior. I mean, there's no seats in it right now, and all of those have been taken out, but you can see all the holes in the floorboard and that kind of stuff. So I pressure washed all of that stuff, all the doors. It's still just dripping like dirt from every orifice. But I was able to clean off a lot of the cross member and suspension stuff and some stuff off the rear end. It is a monoleaf on each side. Obviously, it's not a multi-leaf, but I think that I think somebody sent me new leaves and shocks and variety of different things. So I haven't even opened up some of those boxes. So I'm excited about going down and doing that stuff and getting it on there because that will be kind of cool. And then getting an engine, more than likely it will just be a small block Chevy to go in there, and just so that it can run and drive around, and then hopefully somebody can use it and it can actually run and drive. And I'll put the seats back in there. They have a lot of work to do on the interior. One of the windows is broke on it. The passenger or the driver's side window is broke. The passenger side window's there. The driver's side or the windshield is cracked. That would need to be fixed. The lights and stuff seem to work. That's okay. Although after pressure washing, maybe not anymore. What I'm going to do is run it with just the water pump and an alternator. These two hands, what do you guys are throwing money out crazy? Yes, they're on cam. I will buy it. You saved me thousands of dollars by changing my cam, which was ordered three days ago. Here's your paycheck. Thank you very much, dude. That's awesome. And here's what happens when you're working on stuff like this. Like the Trail 90, which Todd horse traded we with, has been awesome. We've been riding it every day. I went out today and showed my oldest son how to drive it around and stuff. So he's really excited about it. He thinks it's really cool, which you should, because and those are the kind of cool memories that you have for a long time. Yeah, my dad had a Trail 90. It was awesome. And so I'll be able to, as soon as I get it registered, be able to go out and take it out and drive it around and go look for snakes and stuff, and be able to show you guys some photos of the crazy stuff that we go out and do. But that will be the perfect vehicle for that. But when you're working on that stuff, like there's a couple of things I want to do the Trail 90, but working on the Nova, the more that you work on the thing, the more that you start to like it. You're like, I could really clean a lot of this stuff off. And then I get to the point where it's all rusted. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to clean off. And then when you're spraying the floorboard inside the interior, and it just goes right through because of the big holes. You're like, yeah. If I was going to redo it, I wouldn't redo it with Nova interior. I would just do like aluminum or sheet metal panels for the doors and that kind of stuff. It just would be a lot easier than getting all reproduction stuff. It does have 2 bucket seats, which it seems to me like this thing has been underwater, and I don't know how the seats look like they're okay, and I vacuumed them off and stuff, but I think I would just put covers over them and I can bolt them back in. It was originally a bench seat. I have the rear bench seat again. I could just cover that so that it's in place. So then the seat belts are there and stuff. So people could actually just kind of drive it around. The shifter is all there and the trans is all there. And so if I just put a small block in it with a flywheel and a pressure plate, that should just bolt right to the Saginaw and away we go. It has motor mounts there. I think the motor mounts that are there that are bolted in, I think were from the 6-cylinder. But that's easy enough. So then it doesn't, and I already have a radiator and a fan shroud, an electric fan. So I don't think will be a lot. I'm just hoping that when we brought it here, the brakes worked. We were able to stop the car when we're rolling it off the trailer. Obviously we want to take a close look at that and make sure that they're not rusted like all the rest of the stuff, and make sure at least flush the system would be the minimum that we would do. And then maybe replace lots of stuff would be more likely. Obviously, we'll take a look at the shoes on them. We'll take a look at the wheel cylinders on them, and you want like of all of the things that I want to work, the brakes are number one, and then motor stuff. A couple of guys have suggested, and obviously this was on the list of things to do. If this thing has been underwater, we're gonna definitely take a hard look at the trans fluid and the rear end fluid, and we can take a look at that. Hopefully that stuff is in, that's easy to change if there is water in there, or there is, that would be okay. That's an easy swap. And if then those two things are working and we have all the gears, then that would be nice. If just having a little small block in there, a 300 or 325 or 350 horsepower small block in there would be good, especially the one that I'm looking at is an aluminum headed small block. So, it's lightweight. Not that thing doesn't have, it's got a lot of missing stuff. So it's already kind of lightweight. It was kind of a stripper anyways. So that is the Nova, and that's the giveaway plan for the 200K giveaway. That's what I want to do, and then some t-shirts and stuff. And then maybe I can work with some other people, or I can take a look at some of the stuff I have. Maybe there's some cams laying around, some other stuff that I can do to try to spread the wealth around for it, because everybody jumped in and helped get us to the point where we're at right now, which is awesome. It's great to see those numbers continue to grow, and it just it's interesting. It just went right by 200 as though it were nothing, and there was no what I kind of expected YouTube to do is, like, when it reaches a milestone like that, there should at least be the like little fake fireworks and explosions and stuff. And so, but I did that myself. So that was good. The video that I put up today, if you guys haven't seen it, please take a look. Let's see where we are on our, we're 15 minutes in, and we got 183 people here. We have 141 votes. Good. We're having 70% are saying wrong cam bro is the way to go. Wrong cam bro is the way to go. Okay. The video that I put up today was a cool comparison. I want to talk a little bit about that because I get these comments all the time from people who take offense when you do a simple comparison like that, because they're either on one side, they're on team 5.3 or they're on team 8.1 in this case, and whichever one they're team of, you have done them wrong by doing this comparison. Even though this comparison was not by design, and as I said in the video, it was just completely like by luck, by dumb luck, that it worked out this way, and it made itself into a very obvious comparison. Because the Truck Norris cam, the 5.3 liter, which is L33 aluminum one that I got from the wrecking yard, we put springs in it, and then we put that Truck Norris cam in, and it made 424 horsepower. Well, lo and behold, when I ran the 8.1, just completely independently, that had nothing to do with the LS that I was doing, that was just another motor that we were testing while I was down there. We ran the 8.1, thanks to Amos and Darren. Thank you guys again. And put that up there, and with headers on it, lo and behold, that one made 424 horsepower. So after seeing that, I'm like, okay, we definitely have to compare that and see, because then I can ask people. And I was on the phone with Jeff Smith from Legendary, he's the editor of Hot Rod, and he's OG. He's done more than most all of us. But I was talking to him today, and I posed the same question that I posed in the video. It's like, look, these two motors make the same peak horsepower. One of them does it a lot earlier than the other. In fact, in this case, did it 2,000 RPM earlier. So it was a 4,400 and 6,400 on the aluminum 5.3. One point I didn't bring up in the video, I should have, is the aluminum 5.3 would be a lot lighter, maybe 200 pounds lighter than the big block. But the question was posed that these things made the same peak power. And then I demonstrated when we add 7 pounds boost from the same turbo and the same intercooler and all that stuff, that when you add 7 pounds of boost to two wildly different combinations, neither one of them have turbo cams on them. One of them has a stock cam. One of them has a Truck Norris truck cam, ostensibly. That we added boost to both of those. And one, the obvious thing is, yes, both of those cams are turbo cams because we added boost to them and they did the same thing. It just elevated the power curve that was there. But more importantly, it elevated them to the same place because they made the same NA power, and then they made within a couple of horsepower of each other running the same boost. And I'd have to go back and look and see if the horsepower peak, if the boost was exactly the same. It was within I'm sure a tenth or two or whatever of the boost readings for both of those. So they did the turbo and the NA power did exactly what they were supposed to do. But the big difference between those two, one would be weight, as we mentioned. The other one would be how much torque they made. Because the big block makes peak power 2,000 RPM earlier than the 5.3 liter does, it has like 1 million more foot-pounds of torque. In fact, at lower engine speeds, like at 3,500 RPM, it's up 150 foot-pounds over the 5.3. But they make the same peak power. So would they accelerate the vehicle the same? And as I said, I didn't put weight in there. I didn't configure or calculate weight in there, the difference in weight, which would be substantial. Just assuming that they made the same power. So I got all kinds of comparisons or all kinds of comments, which was awesome. That's what I want. I want people to comment and tell me what they think. Oh, the big block will be quicker at the beginning, and then the 5.3 will come around it on the end, on the big end. The big block will be quicker for the eighth, and then the 5.3 will be quicker for the quarter. All the comments ran the whole gamut of stuff, which was, again, that's fantastic. When car guys get together, it should be like that. There should be all kinds of different views, which is awesome. That's what you want to do in life, by the way, is you want to surround yourself with people that have differing views than you do. Most of us surround ourselves with people that have the same views as us, because then it reaffirms what we know to be right. Well, what we know to be right might not be right. So if you have people challenge you, that's how you grow. And it's the same thing with car stuff, is when people tell you, hey, look, this might not be the way that you should think about this. And then you learn something new, and it's awesome. So I got all kinds of comments about that, but a couple of the comments that I got from this comparison between the big block and the 5.3, the aluminum 5.3, was, hey, why did you cheat up the LS, man? You're an LS guy. The LS got a cam and the big block didn't. I'm like, really? Obviously, you didn't either hear or want to hear the whole discussion about this all happening by accident, about me just wanting to do the comparison because they ended up making exactly the same peak power, that it had nothing to do with, and this is how a lot of people are, though, is that they think that you're one kind of person. So if you cheated up the LS, you're an LS guy. Well, I'm also a Chevy Sprint Turbo guy, and a Coyote guy, and a 2JZ guy, and a RB guy, and a turbo rotary, and all these other things. But that's not the way that their view of the world is. The view of the world is that you're either there with them or you're the other thing. You're the enemy. So their comments are like, okay, but why didn't you give the 8.1 a cam? Well, first of all, it's not a comparison to see who could make more power. If we just throw money at both of them, the bigger motor will eventually make more power. So I'll let you in on a little secret. The big motor can make more power than the little motor. That's almost always the case. But this comparison wasn't run to see which engine family as a universal thing is better and which one has ultimately can make more power. That's not what this was about. This was just about, they made the same peak power. I could then therefore demonstrate we had a wildly different torque curve because one of them made peak power much earlier than the other one. And also when we added boost, because we were starting at the same peak power, when we added the same amount of boost from the same turbo and the same intercooler and the same fuel, the same harness, the same management system, they made roughly the same power again after we added boost, which I thought was an awesome kind of conclusion, or an awesome result rather. The other thing that was cool about that video is that I included the boost pressure versus back pressure, which is where we all, like with the torque curve, which is where we also saw a difference. Now, the boost curves were roughly similar. They were very close. The back pressure curves were definitely different. Neither one of them had a lot of back pressure because we were only looking at 630 something horsepower once turbocharged on both of these combinations. That's not a lot of power, especially for the S475 turbo that we were using. And this was an S475 with a T6 1.32 AR. So it was kind of on the big side for the hot side of an S475, which worked out great for the bigger motor because that's where you'll run into problems. On a bigger motor, the hot side is going to become more critical than it is on the 5.3. The 5.3 could have run this same turbo with a T4 hot side and been perfectly fine with it. But what we saw is neither one of these had a lot of back pressure. If I remember correctly, the big block had about 2 pounds more back pressure than boost pressure. But for a lot of the curve, it had less back pressure than boost pressure. Now, on the 5.3, it had 1 pound more back pressure than it had boost pressure. And for most of the curve, it had less back pressure than boost pressure. So the crossover point for the bigger motor that had more torque and more exhaust energy and spun the turbo, could theoretically spin the turbo up faster. It had the crossover point for the back pressure to boost pressure happened much earlier because it got to that point. It got to that power point before the 5.3 did. So I thought that was a really interesting result. But again, all this was done not because I'm choosing because I like big blocks or because I like LSs. I like both of them. I like most motors, in fact, probably all motors. And this is just good data because you can extrapolate from the stuff that happened here. One, you can extrapolate from this and from umpteen other videos that I've done on turbo cams, wrong cam bro, every cam is a turbo cam will be the next t-shirt. But you can extrapolate from that hey, just if you add boost to it, it's going to work. It's going to work with a stock cam. It's going to work with a truck cam. It's going to work with a nitrous cam. It's going to work with, we talked about this last night. If I was to go on the Brian Tooley Racing website and pick a cam, I doubt that somebody could pick a cam, especially a shelf cam, that they offer that I couldn't put in an LS and then run a turbo with that, because you can with all of them. And even if there was one, there'll be hundreds that are yes, and then maybe one that's a no. And right now I don't know what that one would be. So that's the other good takeaway from this, is that, and then we can argue. Then also the fact that we get to argue about which one, they both make the same power, which one will ultimately be quicker in the quarter mile. We get to argue about that. It's all the torque, and no, it's the horsepower. They're the same, and gearing and weight, and like car guys do. We get to bicker about that stuff, which is good. So that's the video that I put up today. The one that I'm working on now is I ran a test thanks to a viewer. I got to run a test comparing the newish HOLLEY bolt together divided single plane manifold, like a Mass has been doing this for a long time, where it's two pieces. HOLLEY has that. I like the manifold design. Single planes typically like a Victor Jr. and stuff, which I'm also going to include in the video on another combination. They're not great for, especially for the smaller LS motors. This one worked very well. It was on a 5.3 and a slightly modified 5.3. In my opinion, it's still that particular manifold could use a lot more motor, and it would excel with a lot more motor. But this one shows how well the long runner versions of the single plane manifold do. And so that would be a good video. And also I'm working on a video on all of the work that went in. Like when I went to the wrecking yard on the same day and got the 5.3, the L33, the aluminum one. And so we have a success story there. And so that will be included in the video, but very, very quickly, because we've seen that a couple of times now. The other part of that video is all of the work, the 90% of the rest of the video is all of the work that's currently and has already and is currently going into making the little 4.8, which I thought was going to be a slam dunk, making that work. I mean, I have really cool video of and you guys got to see it, some of the live guys got to see it, of the thing running without exhaust and blowing fire out, and not blowing fire out of some of the cylinders because those weren't firing. And so we found out what was going on with those cylinders, why those were broke, and they were broken ones on two sides. The thing had good oil pressure. It like wanted to run, but couldn't on those two cylinders, and maybe on some of the other ones. And then we had to take all of the thanks to Troy and Ish and Eddie, work on taking all of the because all of the exhaust bolts were broken off on one side, and then a couple on the other side, a couple on the 5.3 with the 799 heads, the L33. Those are also broken. So they got together and helped me get all those out. But there's just, and then it has a bent valve and a broken rocker stud that had to be, or rocker bolt, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of good video there. Broken camshaft. There's a lot of good stuff to learn on the 4.8 and what happened and why it happened. And then obviously, ultimately, how we fix that. And then fingers crossed that stuff will go back together with just used stuff that I have laying around and run and be a winner, be a junkyard winner, go from a zero, hopefully, to a hero. So we have our fingers crossed on that. So that would be one of the videos that are coming up also. So once again, thank you guys all for helping out. A flat cam isn't a turbo cam. This one wasn't, the one that came out of the 4.8 wasn't the turbo cam on all the cylinders. It was a permanent DOD on one of them. And so would not work very well for a turbo cam. But all the other ones were like, they were ready to party. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what you guys got going on. Wish it was, just wish it wasn't so expensive to make power with a Dorito. Rotor 2-stroke, who needs a cam? Good luck rebuilding your engine at 30,000 miles. The E-Tech is the best 2-stroke engine design. So, solid fuel rocket. That throttling that can be a problem though, right? Anyone ask about the Barry? That's just sitting in my storage. How do we enter for the Nova? We don't know yet. I don't know what that's. I haven't finalized that yet. Molar LA or 5.7 Hemi. Mopar LA or 5.7. The Hemi makes more power, and it's a lot easier to make power because you're starting off with something that came out of the wrecking yard that already has essentially LA race heads on it. So it's a really good head start. Did you tell us that the heater core leaked? I did. I covered that earlier. Right now, it's not leaking. I pressure tested it with water from the hose and haven't seen any leaks yet. It didn't flow very well. A bunch of rust came out, but it seems to be better now. Atlas 4200. I have 2 of those already, which I'm going to be running turbo stuff. And I've talked to Calvin an awful lot like it. Yeah, rockets are good. I do like rockets too. The Nova looks mint. I pictured a red oxidized primer Nova. That color that you're seeing is oxidized primer. When are we getting an 8.1 Big Bang? That one's actually not planned. I'm not planned on doing an 8.1 Big Bang. Already have a small block Chevy. You just need the car. That's good. That's the kind of story that I would want. Wait, what are you doing for the Nova? I'm doing a giveaway. The 200K giveaway is going to be the running Nova. I can't find the BTR Stage 2 5.3 7675 video. That was fairly recent, right? I've never rebuilt a rotary. I would like to. I need to go see Rob when I go down to Southern California. Do you think you'll ever do a Big Bang turbo motor on a Jeep? No. Well, that's not really planned, but I would like to do some 4-liter Jeep testing, though. I picked the right poll answer again. Why not just keep the Nova? I have the Omni GLH, which is what I want to get running and drive around. And I do need room. Okay, wait, here's a turbo cam question. You can run any cam with a turbo, but some cams would spool the turbo earlier from what I hear. The cam that will spool the turbo earlier is not a turbo cam. The cam that will spool the turbo earlier is actually a cam that makes more low speed power. And we already demonstrated that in the last video where we ran the truck NORRIS cam versus the sloppy stage 2 cam. And the sloppy stage 2 cam made more peak power, but less power down low. And the truck NORRIS cam made more power down low, but slightly less peak power. And then we ran those NA, and then we ran them with a turbo. And the truck NORRIS cam that made more power down low, neither one of these are turbo cams, although I guess you could argue now that from a de facto standpoint that the sloppy stage 2 cam has been gifted the title of turbo cam, but neither one of them really are turbo cams. But the truck NORRIS cam spooled the turbo faster, not because it's a turbo cam, but because it made more low speed power. And that's what happens. And that's exactly what happens in our comparison. Were we to have a turbo that's big enough to need to be able to be spooled, comparing the 8.1 and the 5.3, same thing. The motor that makes more power down low will spool the turbo faster. And it's the same thing with camshafts. Richard, about the RPMs per second acceleration question on the test motor, was that something you measured, or is it what you set the dyno at? The dyno is set at an acceleration rate. We can adjust that. There's a wide range of adjustments that we could make, but when we run it normally, it's 300 RPM per second for all of the motors. I can help you make the Nova circle track car and race it at Stockton. I have a lot of vacation, and let's see. Hydrogen peroxide. The ZL1 Nova. That would be interesting, right? What's up with the Gen 2 LT1? I'm going to do that. I'll do the 302 version, which will be the L99 and the LT1. Twin turbo 8.1 in the Nova. Yeah. Probably way too much though. There's nothing in the Nova right now, just rust. Originally, the car had a 250 in it. It still has the trans and the drive shaft and the rear end. It just doesn't have a motor in it. Reverse pattern turbo cam, no thank you. Have you ever thought about putting a diesel? Thought about putting a diesel out of a 2500 on the dyno? No diesels. We won't want diesels on the dyno. I missed the start. Will the Nova be US only? You mean will the giveaway be US only? You have to come get the Nova. American inline six builds. I have a 292 and a 4200. I want to do a 300 and a 4-liter Jeep also because I like both of those. Amos, I've got most of the parts in for designing and building an 8.1 turbo manifold for my stock truck. If you're interested in trying, let me know. I don't think we need that because that's really more of a fitment thing. The stock exhaust manifolds would be perfect for a turbo. I mean, they'll work great just like the LS ones do. I just don't know that they're going to fit, but they flow more than enough to run a turbo on that thing, especially at the low boost that most guys would be running. Scuba Sam, I feel like if I won the Nova, I just want to give it back to you. No, what I would want to see is it go to someone who's going to actually do something with it. Like I'd like to see smoky burnouts. I'd like to see the thing go to duct tape drags or something like that. Something where we could see it actually do something. Give me the Nova. I'll put a 5.7 Hemi in it. See, all of that stuff is like, I don't care what kind of motor goes in there. Put an LNF Ecotech in the Nova with 30 pounds of boost that will run mid 12s. Nice. $292 series are awesome, but what happened with the low custom intake? Just scab it together, but the winner has to road kill at home. See, that would be good video, I think, and I think that might be part of the deal is that you have to come and road trip it. Maybe put a window in it. Drive the Nova back to Illinois. That would be good. Rotary swap it. What's up with the Nova? Did your wife put her foot down? That's not the kind of relationship we have. K-swap the Nova. Sorry, I'm late. How do you enter to win? There's no entry yet. We're still talking about it. Steven would like to see an FE build, and I would too. I would like to do an FE. I want to do a 390 or something. Sanchez has a 352 in a Galaxy, I think. It's either a Galaxy or a Fairlane. But I'd like to do something different than that. Will the Nova come with a Super Richie adjustable intake? Not on a small block Chevy. I don't know if I've ever done one of those for a small block Chevy. Put a narrow 9-inch and a 4-link in it. Do you think the Nova will make a 3,000-mile journey? I don't know. I just have no idea what the history of the Nova was before I got it. Like I said, it seems to me like it's been underwater. But you got to be like Freiberger and jump in the Jeep and see if you can do it and have all the things break along the way. Everyone that subscribes to the channel is already a winner. That's nice. Don't need a Nova to prove it. But it's important for me to give back to guys because you guys have done lots of stuff for me. It does have a periscope. That's really what it needs, man. I have a 6-liter and a 4L80E ready to toss in the Nova along with a 302 oil pan. Yeah, it's probably going to need that. Give the winner 30 days from pickup to run it at the track. 10s are better. Keep it. Otherwise, it goes to the second one line. See, I put a lot of thought into that thing that we were talking about earlier. Make it a challenge for the winner to keep it. That's right. It's cheaper to keep her. Is it a 68? This is not a 68. Open to Canadian residents. Yeah, if you want to drive it across the border. Will the Nova be registered and able to drive? That's one of the other problems before getting it ready for the in time for the because the guy never gave me the title when I traded him the stuff, so I'm gonna have to do a workaround on that. Do your D-stroked LT1 for the Nova. I already have a motor for the Nova. It has to happen in a fairly rapid time period, so it's not something that I could go redesign a whole new motor for. I'd ship a new fuel tank. It'll get a fuel tank that works. Brake components. I think we have that stuff. You can get the extended warranty. Yes. How about the Nova and the Silver State Classic? You mean run it in the Silver State Classic? Just getting it to make it to the Silver State Classic would be a win. Did you get the recall fixed for the springs on the Nova? Was there a recall for those? The Nova's in California. Richard, if I send you my 3 Gen 2 LT4 that I'm sitting on a stand, can you dyno and make an episode? I don't normally do stuff like that because I don't know anything about the motor. I didn't put it together, and it's somebody else's motor, and I don't. You'd have to talk to the guys at West Tech about that, about what that would cost. Oh, you live in Ely? Okay, I've been there many times. Does anybody know if you need to re-degree a motor after an aftermarket swap? I don't know what you mean by re-degree. I haven't been out to the Silver State for a long time. I've been talking to my buddy Bernie. We want to go back out there with something. I got the Nova from a viewer and traded him some big block heads for it. You rope tow it to British Columbia. Nice. What transmission became behind the 8.1? They were Allison's. Yeah, Ely, Nevada. How do you properly break in a flat tappet cam? The way that I do it, especially way back when we were having the scares with the flat tappet cams, both hydraulic and although most of them were hydraulic, I don't remember running a lot of solid flat tappets, but we did run some when I did all of those reproductions of the original muscle car motors. What I would do is we would use obviously a high zinc brake and oil. I would use a high zinc brake and additive. I would use Molly assembly lube on the bottom of the lifter and on all of the cam lobes. And then we would use light springs and then change the springs after we broke it in. And all of that seemed to, I never had a cam go flat after doing all that. And all that, a lot of that might be overkill, but it worked. And so that's kind of my go-to thing. How much do you think it would cost a shop to install DSC mini tubs in the Nova? I don't know. I don't know what those cost. The 8.1 is neutrally balanced. That's right. What's the best 5.3 for the swap? Well, I'm really happy that I got that L33. I don't see those very often. Or another LC9 or one of those that's an all aluminum Gen 4 would be cool too. Put a big block Mopar on the Nova. See, all of those are good. Amos said the 8.1 came with Allison 1000, 4L80E, 4L85E, and a ZF6. And then we, Dan was mentioning the break-in procedure. After doing all of that stuff, the dyno has a computer-controlled break-in procedure that we run, and so that it varies the RPM and the load for a given number of cycles for a given amount of time. Normally we do 2 of those. We do one and kind of let the oil temperature cool off, and then we do another one, and then after that, it seems to be like it's okay. Neutrally balanced means that there's no external weights. It internally balances, another way to say it. Gen 5 L83, what heads, cam, and supercharger do you recommend? Power goal of 600 wheel horsepower. Well, if you're trying to get 600 wheel horsepower, the only cam that I've seen where I've seen actual verified dyno results are the ones that Brian Tooley did, that 220 cam that he uses. You can port the stock heads are fine. You really don't even need that. But if you put that cam in it, and you put a supercharger on it, 600 wheel horsepower is not hard. Have you ever tested JEGS cams? I have not. The flat tappet circle track cams would go flat all the time if you didn't break them in correctly, even with the 1.2 rockers. Yeah, that's the other way to do it. I think we have some 1.3s at West Tech, lightweight springs. Tom, if it's internally balanced, it still has a harmonic damper, not a balancer. That just means that thing that's spinning in the front doesn't have any external weights to it. It's neutrally balanced. But it's still a vibration damper. Supercharged Ford flathead. I got a flat tap at 510, 533, 302, 312. I'm sure that's got to be advertised duration 114. What motor is that for? CRH Garages has an LM7 looking for 4x4 5-speed that can handle 400 horsepower. If you guys have any ideas for them? 60-degree 2.8 liter twin turbo. Richard, what age did your passion for all this start? I think I was reading all of the car magazines probably when I was 14 or 15, maybe 15. You need to heat your oil to at least 200 degrees before you do a cam break-in. I haven't ever seen that. I haven't ever done that. Oh, a 350 crate motor board, 40 over that's a lot of camshaft if the duration numbers that you gave me are accurate. Hopefully you have enough piston to valve clearance and all of that. No diesels for the Nova. What are the aftermarket rod options for the 8.1s? I don't know. The Nova, an LS swap the Nova or the 3800 compound. That would be kind of cool having if I didn't have to put a standalone management system in it. That would be a consideration for keeping the Nova, is to put that supercharged V6 in, or a turbo version of that V6 in there. A lot of people don't realize that there's a layer of rubber in a harmonic balancer. Yeah, the dampers have that. In fact, the outer portion of it, as they get old, is what happens is the rubber section gets hardened, and then it'll allow the outer ring to spin. And then if that's where your timing marks are, then all of a sudden they're like way off. And we've had that happen a few times with junkyard motors where the timing numbers are not anywhere near accurate because the whole outer ring of the damper has spun. What are your thoughts on using Hypertechnic pistons on a boosted streetcar and ethanol? We've run cast pistons and Hypertechnic pistons under boost as long as it has ring gap and the piston to wall clearance is right. I've been offered an old 427 big block Chevy. That's cool. It's built to be a race engine back in the 70s, but never run. My initial thought is, yeah, but I'm at a loss for what I would do with it. Find out what it is. I would like to have a 427, so let me know what it is. I might be interested in it. Any chance I could link it so you can look it over? Just send me an email. Here's my email address. Really enjoy the channel. Keep it up, man. Thank you, RJ. I need help with my setup on my 85 Trans Am. That's going to be is it a tune port motor? What's a good piston to wall clearance on an LS3? On an LS third gen? I don't know if that's an LS3 or an LS third gen. Late to the party. Can you explain the Nova giveaway? We don't know what it is yet, but that's what it's going to be given away. We just don't know how yet. I just don't know how yet. I've had people were talking about dampers and balancers. I had a 351 Windsor that I got from the wrecking yard, and the damper exploded while we were running it because somebody had stick welded the thing, because I'm sure that the outer ring was spinning on the inner one, on the inner hub. And instead of getting another damper, which from a wrecking yard, just get another wrecking yard one, but he didn't do that. He like stick welded the two things together. I think he used a coat hanger or something and a big lighter. But the whole thing came apart in spectacular fashion. It blew up and shot into the walls and went through the drywall and stuff. It was pretty exciting. Do a waffle $20 buy-in. I don't want to do it to raise money. I'm happier to give it away. Richard, you need to break in a roller cam. We don't ever do that. When I do cam swaps, like if I have an LS and we're running 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 camshafts and they're hydraulic rollers, I make sure to put oil on them before I install them. I take the other one out and put the new one in, and hopefully the lifters don't drop, and then we just run it. There's no break-in for the cam. The break-in for hydraulic roller cam deal is if it's a new motor, it's going to be more the mostly the rings, maybe bearings. No way, Jose. If you're carbureting your tune port motor, a 650 or 750 will work just fine. Either one of those. If it's a stock one, I would go with the 650. Is that what the dent in the wall is from? RB25 swap Nova, that would be good. I just want to get that thing running. It would be wrong cam bro instead of just wrong cam. So where are we at on our? We're at 65 yes and 35 no. So the bro is still a go. What type of glass is in the dyno cell? Yeah, and you're in front of the motor a fairly good way. So it's not, most of that stuff goes sideways if something breaks. I've broken another LS truck damper, and it broke the 3 prongs that are holding it, and that broke off. And then it was like when we walked in there, it was just spinning like 6,000 RPM on the floor during burnouts and stuff. No, Brian, it's not necessary with a hydraulic roller cam. Just make sure it has oil on it and put it in. Any idea how much power a 0.68 ART4 turbine housing is good for on a 2J? I would need to know the other side of that turbo, and also how big the wheel is and all of that stuff. The AR tells me almost nothing. Your dyno numbers are fake because it's the wrong cam, bro. Yeah, what was up with that, Amos? What was up with that guy? I had to throw down the $10,000 challenge, and it was probably too soon to do that. But I just went from Mr. Nice Guy to like, I'm all in. You know, I just because somebody had said that the turbo 8.1, there's no way they could make that much because the math doesn't support it. I'm like, actually, the math exactly supports it. It's following the formula. In fact, it might be a little bit better than the formula because of the E85, but it's tracking right on. And he's like, oh, that's all fake. It doesn't work. And I'm like, look, you bring $10,000 to the dyno, and I'll bring $10,000 to the dyno, like I have that, but I'll bring $10,000 to the dyno, even if I have to borrow it. And then when I duplicate the test and it does exactly what it did, what I'm saying that it did, then I get your $10,000. And if it doesn't, then I'll give you $10,000. And so if it doesn't do it, obviously it's just an easy money for you, right? And I've made that offer, I don't know, in past history 3 or 4 times with people that have just mouthed off like, you know, they're keyboard warriors telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. And so I've made that. That's what ends the discussion. I'm like, okay, look, we can make this really simple. Here's what I'm willing to do. If you're right, and you seem to think that you are, it's just easy money for you. It's just all win. I will even fly you out here. I'll put you up at a hotel and pay for all of that stuff. It'll come out of the winning, of course. And if you win, if this doesn't do what I said it just did, if I can't duplicate that result, which I'm definitely going to be able to, then you win $10,000. It's really simple. And of the 3 or I think it's 4 times now, with this most recent one, nobody has taken me up on that. Did he actually contact an administrator or one of the admins and like complain about the comment? TJ has an ancient 69 millimeter inducer, I believe a 64 millimeter P trim turbine wheel. Another compressor is good for 600 wheel horsepower, or perhaps more, but unsure if the 68 T4 turbine. I think on a 2J, you're probably going to be fine. Oh, Todd, you got the V bands in the mail? Cool. Oh, and I have your HOLLEY stuff that showed up. Keyboard warriors come out to play. I like that. I like the warriors. It's got to be in the super creepy voice. Can I just be the guy that comes and hangs out? Yeah, you just buy the pizza and you're good. He reported me to an admin. I'm the admin. See, it's who you know. That's what the world's like. See an old small block Chevy bouncer fly across the field. Does not have a bolt holding the bouncer on. That's not good. I have seen, we have had, and I'm sure that I left it loose. I have seen the LS bolt on the dyno back out. He reported me for fake news. Wow. How will a 2007.3 liter turbo do on an LM7? I think it will be limited in terms of its power potential, but it's a turbo, so it will work. Well, I make close to 400 horsepower with a 306 small block Ford, valve reliefs, flat top pistons, AFR 185 heads. I need to know more information about the rest of the thing. The 550 lift doesn't tell me anything. I need to know what the duration is on the cam, Brandon, and I need to know what induction system you're using. What is the intake? Could Richard live with woolly hair? When I was in high school, all I had like essentially a fro. And I never combed it. I'd just wash it and wake up and just shake it and go. Suggestions on an EFI manifold for a Marine 355. Makes 425 as is with a Performer RPM and QJet. Don't want to lose bottom end torque. I don't know about the Marine intakes. Can you just use a carbureted version, like a Marine version that are painted or however they coat them? Or do they have those long runner? Because I've seen them on big blocks, but I don't know if they have them on small blocks. Do they have long runner EFI manifolds for Marine applications? Dan saying Ilmor makes a really nice tunnel ram for Marine engines. Thank you, Todd. The 455 Buick is the only stock GM 455 regular performance rotating assembly that will live for years, hopped up to shift at 6,000 RPM. So you're saying, are you saying that a big block Chevy won't run and shift at 6,000 RPM? Maybe I'm not understanding. Can I email you the specs for my Trans Am? Yeah, if you want, that's fine. And I'll try to answer what I can. How common is the 8.1 at the junkyard? Maybe that's a question for Amos. I've never seen one at the wrecking yards that I go to, but I don't see a lot of motors. I've also never seen an L21. I have seen L29s. Oh, I was referring to GM regular 455s. Oh, like the Pontiac and the Oldsmobile and the Buick. Amos at 8.1's come in 2001 to 2007, 2,500 and 3,500 vans, Suburbans, trucks, Kodiak, and buses. So if you're looking for one in a wrecking yard, that's what to look for. Vote now. Richard with natural, Richard showing skin. As long as it's tasteful. Do you reuse the LS Harmonic damper? Yeah, it's not... Oh, the damper bolts. Okay. Are they supposed to be stretched? We reuse them infinitely. And I think when we do dyno testing, because I'm usually taking them off to do cam swaps and stuff, so we just hit them with a gun on 3, because we know 4 will take them back off. So they're not as tight as the factory is saying that you need to tighten that bolt, which is like if you go to take one off for the first time from the factory, like a lot of the wrecking yard motors that we take off, it's on there really good, because it also has that sealant that's on the backside of the face of the bolt, and it kind of acts like it almost like Loctite, like it doesn't want to allow it to rotate, it doesn't want to allow it that initial breakaway. Would a tunnel ram or Victor Jr. give up bottom end? Yes, it will. Let's start a car guy clothing line like No Fear or any of the other ones that are out there. Rich, I need a 3-bar map for my 3800. Which one do I buy? Application. The ones that we get are the ones from HOLLEY that are that normal kind of square 3-bar deal. So you're testing intakes on both engines. What do you mean by both engines? We're testing, if you're talking about the 8.1, we're going to run intakes on the 8.1. Yeah, 240 foot-pounds for the stock damper bolt. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a breaker bar and all that. Todd, Richard, I ran into an old friend of mine that has a scrapyard, one of the biggest in Northern California. So any motor or trans you need, dude, we need to talk. What's going on with that 5.3, Todd? Do we need to take that out of something, or what's the deal with that? Thoughts on welding instead of ejector bungs onto the performer RPM? I think it's a good idea. I think they should make dual plane EFI port injected manifolds. I don't know why they don't. 3/4 air impact. 3/4 is pretty good. We use the electric ones, the big Milwaukees, and we have the big battery in it. And when we set that thing on 4, it will take those off. I love my 455 Oldsmobile. It won me a lot of cash in the street. The damper bolts on the Duramaxes are there too. Yeah. How do you feel about a 4V 351 Cleveland? All of those are good. I bought a whole 8.1 2001 2500 truck for less than $2,000. So it had all the stuff in it that you need. Even if you order one, he can make it happen. Well, what we need to find out is how much 6 liters are, Todd. We need a 6 liter. preferably an aluminum. Well, not a 6-liter, but an aluminum 6.2. All of those are good. Anybody see the torque test channels video with the Milwaukee Impact powered by a 66 cc weed eater engine? That would be awesome. I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. Has the 8.1 gained much of an aftermarket lately? Last I heard it was something about marine parts. It does. They use them in marine applications too. There's enough stuff to make power with those. There's not 30 or 40 different cylinder heads for them. You don't need a dual plane intake with injection because you do not rely on a booster signal. Yeah, but you're not relying on the signal to change what the intake manifold does and where it wants to make power. A dual plane with fuel injection or a carburetor is still going to make power in a different RPM range than a single plane. And so a single plane is going to lose power down low compared to a dual plane. Doesn't matter whether you have a carburetor or fuel injection on it. Is a 6.2 out of an Escalade worth $2,000? It needs a cam and some lifters. It is to some people. There's a Chevy 2500 with an 8.1 and a ZF 6-speed manual 4x4 for sale locally. Yeah, Todd, I'll give you a call. Single plane, you need a big cam. I know, a ZF 6-speed 8.1. That means that that's the combination that should go in a muscle car, right? The DeWalt 1/2 inch I have won't pull it off on high with a big battery. Craig, the thing about cams for the 8.1, there's a few of them out there already, but all of the Gen 6 cams will work in the 8.1. You just have to change the firing order. Because the 8.1 has the LS firing order, and the previous big block has the big block and small block firing order. Have you ever tested 2 more minutes? I've got to get going. Have you ever tested Offie Portasonic intakes, the one with the dual runners? Westech might have one of those. I've never run one of those. I kind of would like to. I'd like to run some of those weird ones. They have one of those Torquenator or whatever, the weird twisted one. And I want to try some of those strange ones. I really like to try a cross ram too. Let's see, Brandon Bateman, what cam would you recommend for that setup? I have to go back and look at what your question was. Why can I never find the person that I'm looking for when I try to go back? And I'm scrolling. I'm not seeing the other question, Brand. What head would you run on a small block for Dart Block 306 with a little spray? The fact that it's going to run nitrous isn't going to make any difference. Just make the NA power that you're going to make. It depends on what the rest of the combination is. Do you have a cam and intake manifold that can take advantage of what a what is the camshaft going to work with the heads and the intake manifold and all that stuff? If all that stuff's going to work together, there's no reason to put a set of heads that will support 600 horsepower on a motor that's only going to make 400. So choose the head that's going to support the kind of power level that you're at. I think you don't need a 225 like a Dart 225 or an Airflow head like that on a 306. A 185 Airflow head would be good for that. Trickflow has some The 11R heads, those are good too. Yeah, the cross rams are a lot of money now. Freiberger did a test recently on a bunch of them. I don't think any of them that he had were the original, DZ302 kind of cross ram, but he had a bunch of aftermarket ones. Yeah, 180 brand. Okay, the 306 flat top, 185 Victor Jr. intake. As long as you have enough valve relief in it and you want to run at high RPM, then that XFI cam, this is a hydraulic roller, the XFI cam works pretty good, the 236 cam. Or if you want to step down from that, I would go above the 274 cam, maybe like a 282. Okay, last question. Okay, Jameson, what would be the highest boost you would run in a factory LQ4 bottom end? You mean one without ring gap? If you look at the Big Bang stuff, we ran 29 pounds on a stock bottom end, stock block, crank, rods, pistons, bearings, all that stuff. It just had ring gap in it. If you don't change the ring gap, then that's all on you. Because it doesn't matter. You don't know what the gap is, and you can't decide how much boost is safe without knowing what that point is. And also, it's not just how much you run, it's for how long you run it, and what's the back pressure, and what is the inlet air temperature. And there's a lot of things that go on there. It's not just a boost thing. We're going to close out our poll and said, should I add bro to the wrong cam slogan? Wrong cam bro, because you got to bro out. 65% said yes. So that will be good information for when we're making t-shirts. Thank you guys all for showing up, and hopefully you have already checked out the video that I put up on the 8.1 versus the 5.3, so you can pick horsepower or torque depending on which one, which camp you're in, and hopefully not yell at Richard for choosing one over the other, because I really didn't. I just randomly selected those to compare. Thank you guys all for showing up, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.